we will see, as the Rebbe will show, that everything that exists in Biyah, all the way to the physical world, and all the way to each and every situation and every mentality and every urge and every phenomena that happens in this world is actually the embodiment of Or Ein Sof. Only we are on Chaf Gimel Shvat, still feeling the radiance of the light of Chav Bei Shvat. We are in Chav Gimel Shvat, day after. And back to Basi Legani, I think we might be able to finish it in 2 times. We'll see what happens. So getting back to the Maimar, first the Rebbe explained what it means Lemata. And Lemata, basically we focus on Oilamos Biyah, which Oilamos Biyah, unlike Atzilus, even though the spheros there, the kelim of Atzilus, are like the guf to the neshama, the body to the soul, but we know from our experience that body and soul are one. However, Biyah are levushim. They are like garments to the spheros, and garments are not one with the person. And therefore, the whole reality of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, even though there are enormous differences between Bria and Yetzira, and between Yetzira and Asiya, and between Asiya Ruchnis and Asiya Gashmis, however, Biyah as a whole, the spheros of Biyah are just levushim to the spheros of Atzilus. And therefore, it is in Biyah that there is a sense of separation from the source, and that is called Lemata. That Or Ein Sof is Lemata ad Ein Tachlis. Now, from these levushim, specifically on Bria, but it doesn't matter right now, from these levushim come up the souls of humans here, of Yidden. And that means that all the souls of Yidden, except for unique souls, are part of the reality of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya that are only garments for Elokus and not one with Elokus. And that's the experience of Neshamas of Biyah. Nevertheless, it is Dafka, the Neshamos, so they are Dafka, the Neshamos of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, that have to accomplish Dira B'Tachtonim, that have to accomplish bringing Elokus to the extent that it's all revealed in this physical world. How is it possible? We ask, and the Rebbe asks, how is it possible? It doesn't ask it directly, but it's this question screams from all over. How is it possible for neshamos, which means from consciousness, to expect from consciousness of Biyah, which is separate from the source in its experience, to unite between worlds and Elokus? For that, the Rebbe says 2 things. One thing we learn is that in every generation, there's Chad Bedara, there's one in a generation that this neshama is from Atzilus. And not Stam of Atzilus, but Chochma of Atzilus, the way it is even higher than Torah. And it is that soul that is acting like the Moshe Rabbeinu, the Moses of the generation, who acts like the brain of the generation. And as we know, in any living body, the brain is connected 24/7 to each and every organ of the body. So it is through the souls of the holy tzaddikim in every generation that the souls of Bia, which are most of us, are still connected to Or Ein Sof, to godliness. That's number one. Number two, as we learned at the end of last year, on page Tes Zayin in the booklet, the middle paragraph, I'm not reading it inside, but just bringing us to where we are. In Bia, in addition to the fact that we have the Moshe Rabbeinu, the Chad Bedara in every generation that still carries the consciousness of Atzilus, that means one with Or Ein Sof, and through that neshama, which is acting like our brain, like our head, we have access to Or Ein Sof. In addition to that, says the Rebbe, in Bia itself, neshamas are pnimius. Neshama souls come from the inner aspect of each world. And as the inner aspect of each, like a keli, the inner aspect of the keli is touching the light. Like the inner aspect of the cup is touching the water inside. And the Rebbe explained that there are 3 dimensions of consciousness in the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. And that is Pnimius, Chitzonius, and Chitzonius of Chitzonius. The inner aspect of the world, these worlds of Bia, that's the Neshamas, from when the Neshamas come. Then we have the external aspect of Bia, it's like the middle one, which is like the Malachim, which they are the transmitters and the messengers and the angels that are sent to accomplish what the neshamas want and bring back to neshama and to the higher consciousness what the below is accomplishing. And that's the chitzonius. And then comes the external of the external, which is the world itself. This is where we are holding. So the neshamas are like mediators that know the language of Or Ein Sof on one hand. Why? Because we come from the pnimius of the world. Number one, the soul of every world. Number two, we are connected to the shamas of Atzilus in every generation, to the Rebbe, to the Tzaddik, to Moses. So on one hand, the neshama understands the language of Or Ein Sof. And on the other hand, it also understands the reality of worlds because it also comes from the same sense of separation of the Olamos Bia, which are just levushim to godliness rather than a body to godliness. So we are the mediators. And it's dafka neshamas of Bia, because they also have to have in common a language with the worlds that feel themselves separate from the source. And the neshama in the goof feels that. So she has both languages. She's bilanguage. Bottom line, now we know more or less the setup. You know, the Rebbe set up the stage and the players and what is the show about. And to continue that, we are on page Tes Zayin at the bottom. Be'ezras Hashem. Ve'yuvan al pi Toras Harav Hamagid. The Rebbe first brought the Baal Shem Tov. The Rebbe brings every Rebbe, every time the Rebbe Shlita teaches Basi Legani, he brings all the Rebbeim, as the Frierdiker Rebbe did. And first we met the Baal Shem Tov by learning about the Teva that has the Shlishim, Shniyim, and Tachtiim, the 3 floors, Elokus, Neshamas, and worlds. And we have to brighten, to bring light, Zohar Ta'aseh La Teva, we have to brighten the Teva, which means brighten reality with Elokus, with consciousness, with light. Now the Rebbe brings the Magid. על פי תורת הרב המגיד בביאור מאמר רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, in the Gemara, אין המלאכים אומרים שירה עד שישראל אומרים שירה. Angels do not say their song until Jews say their song. That's what the Gemara says. Now, we don't have to take it dafka literally in time, that the Malachim wait till, 10 o'clock and 770 Shachris, and then when they get the Shira, then they can do Shira. The Malachim are not subjected to time like we do, or we are. But in terms of Maila, in terms of cause and effect, in terms of the higher and the lower, Malachim are like Dibur, are like speech, in comparison to neshamas, to souls that are like thought. So one cannot talk until they have a thought. So ein malachim omrim shira, the angels, the spiritual beings in the higher worlds of Biyah cannot sing their song until the neshamas down here with their choice and consciousness, as they are higher than the Malachim, and therefore they are the catalyst to the Malachim's service. So they are waiting for us to say Shira. Sheneemar, as it says in Iyov, Beron Yachad Kochvei Boker, together in singing. Ron is like Rina, like singing together, Yachad. The morning stars. Who are the morning stars? Chazal explained. These are Neshamas Israel. So when Neshamas Israel get together in the morning to sing together Shachris, the Hadar, then, Hadar means in Aramaic, and then after that, following that, Vayarihu kol bnei Elokim. All the bnei Elokim, the children of Elokim, Elokim is already, Tzimtzum is already concealment, Elokim, not Havaya, which are the Malachim. They are called Bnei Elokim. Then they are Yariu, then they sing. Tzarech lahavin, so what does the Magid explain about it? Tzarech lahavin, מהו עניין ההמתנה שממתינים המלאכים עד שיתחילו ישראל? What is the idea of this waiting, that the angels have to wait till Yidden are beginning their song in their prayer here, down here? ויש לפרש על פי הקדמה הידועה שישראל עלו במחשבה תחילה להיברוס. Then we have to explain according to what it says in Bereshis Rabbah, that the way things were created, the way Yidden Neshama souls were created, they came up in the divine thought first. Alu b'machshava tchila libarot. So they are primary in terms of creation. כי במחשבה יש כל הכף בייס אויסיוס, והי מוצאוס הפה. Because in thought, those who learn in Maimar, the previous Maimar in Torah, we learn that the half base oisios are not originated in the mouth. They are articulated by the mouth, but are not originated in the mouth. They are originated in the soul. In the machshava, in the thought already, before it is spoken, there are all 22 letters, and hey, motzoi sapeh, and the 5 sources of articulation of the mouth. They exist already spiritually. These 5 sources of articulation that physically articulate the different groups of letters of the Aleph base, which means the palate and the tongue and the teeth and the lips and the throat, that articulate the different groups of letters, the guttural letters, the tongue letters, the teeth letters, the lips letters like a base or a pay, and so on. They begin in the soul itself. In our discussion, they don't begin in speech. They begin, as every dibur, begin in thought. We think in oisios. We think in letters. ומשם שורש כל האוסיוס. And in the thought is the שורש of all, the root of all letters, כי אין האדם מוציא דיבור מפיו אם לא יחשוב תחילה. A person does not bring out any speech, word from his mouth if he doesn't think first. It happens that we can say something and think about something else, but that's because we said those words before. We know in davening sometimes my word is saying the words, but my mind is somewhere else, my thought. But I thought those words before, many times, hopefully, and said them with thought. And now I can say, or if someone speaks without thought, you doubt their sanity. It's not a normal process. And therefore, normally a person does not speak until he thinks first. And when a person utters a speech without thought, the speech will lack wisdom and intelligence. נמצא כי הישראל הנקראים רישיס. So what can we conclude from that? That Jewish souls that are called the beginning, רישיס תבואסה, הם שורש כל העולמות ומלאכים. They are the root of all worlds and angels. שנסגלו על ידי הדיבור. All angels and worlds, you can put them in one category, that in this case, that they are revealed through the divine speech. They are like the divine speech. However, the souls hidden are the divine thought. ולכן, and therefore, אין המלאכים יכולים להוציא שום דיבור בלי ישראל שהם שורש כולם. The angels and all spiritual beings cannot utter any speech, any word, without Israel, the Jewish soul, שהם שורש כולם, that are the source of all. כי הם עיקר המחשבה. Because the Jewish souls are the main aspect of the divine thought. נמצא, so we find, כי כאשר ישראל מתחילים לומר שירה, when the Jewish people begin to sing their song, when we pray, when we daven, יש להם, next page י"ז, למלאכים, כוח לומר גם כן שירה. Then the malachim, the angels, they get their power, their empowerment, their energy to sing song as well. The neshama is like the thought and the energy behind creation. And the song of the neshama brings vitality and animates the whole creation, because the way it is coming down to the lowest creation. And therefore, the neshamas are able to bring rectification and tikkun to the world. Dafka neshamas of Biyah, that are called Anshe Achayil, we are the field soldiers, that went mata to the battlefield. But here we see how it's all depending on us. Even the spiritual beings cannot begin their song and their divine service before the Jewish soul is open to sing its song down here in the guf, in the physical world. וזה שכתוב שיר השירים. This is how King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, begins the Song of Songs. He calls it the Song of Songs. רוצה לומר, what does it mean, the Song of all songs? שיר של ישראל גורם שירים הרבה של העליונים. It is the song of the Jewish soul that causes the myriad songs of the divine beings in the higher world. So our song is called Shir HaShirim, the song of all songs. We know about Perek Shira from the early Chazal, from the according to most opinions from the Tanaim, the early Tanaim, that they bring psukim mainly from Tehillim and some other places, how each and every aspect of creation, starting with the spiritual ones and the celestial ones, and then the birds and the beasts and the plants, everything, and the wind and the sky and the rocks, everything sings its song. Creation has many, many, many songs. However, the song of the Jewish neshama is Shir HaShirim, the song of songs. We are called Yisrael. If you change the order of the letters of Yisrael, is Shir Kel, the song of God. And Kel is denotes chesed and love, the song of the divine love. וזהו גם מה שכתוב במיימר, this is what it says in the Maimar of the previous Rebbe, says the Rebbe Shlita, שהנשמות הם פנימיוס, that הנשמות are the pnimius. What do you mean pnimius? Just as thought is the pnimius of speech, so the neshama is pnimius of the world. ועל ידי הפנימיוס נפעלים העניינים גם בחיצוניוס, and through the inner, all the outer aspects are being affected. Who is the חיצוניוס? שהם המלאכים, as the Rebbe taught. ובחיצוניוס the חיצוניוס. And what is the external of the external? שהם העולמות, the worlds themselves. The creation is not rooted in the neshama. The neshama, it's better to say that the neshama is the root of creation in terms of the hashpah, in terms of its position in relation to world. That it's like a tree that is drawing its nurturing from its root. Yes. Right now, we are talking about the condition of the neshama, the way it comes from the levushim of Biyah, not the vessels of Atzilus. Because after the vessels of Atzilus come a big tzimtzum of the parsa, and then Biyah come about from Atzilus. And Biyah, from there, from Bria, come the neshamas that we know in Gufim, the way they are in Gan Eden, the way they are in a goof in this world. That's from Biyah, not from Atzilus directly. Even though originally, yes, but in terms of the consciousness and the work, they only can relate directly to the reality of Atzilus through the Rebbe. Okay. Hey. וזהו עניין אור אינסוף למטה עד אין תכלס. This is the idea of אור אינסוף going all the way down, no end. דקאי על הגילוי וההספשטוס בבחינס אינסוף עד למטה מטה. Now the Rebbe says, okay, now we understand how everything is set up and what is the relation between soul and the malachim and worlds, and what is the task of the souls to bring Elokus into this world, and it's depending on them because their shpat everywhere depends in the created world, depends on the souls. And now the Rebbe says, what does it mean that, and obviously in this process of Or and Sof, in the way it is extending lemata mata ad en tachlis, our souls are playing a cardinal role. Okay, so we have like a partnership here. You know, on one hand, we will see, as the Rebbe will show, that everything that exists in Biyah, all the way to the physical world, and all the way to each and every situation and every mentality and every urge and every phenomena that happens in this world is actually the embodiment of Or and Sof. And with the assistance of souls, the Rebbe is saying now, what does it mean, Or and Sof lemata mata ad tachlis? Doesn't mean only its presence, but the kai ala gilui vaispashtus bivchinas ein sof ad lemata mata. On the gilui, the revelation, and the extension in a manner of infinity, all the way down. which means that we have to train ourselves to look at the world through the right lens, that everything, even those that look so far and detached from any sense of truth or goodness or godliness, even that is an embodiment of Or Ein Sof. And in a revealed way, which is done through our consciousness, במדרגות היותר אחרונות והיותר תחתונות. So when the Zohar says that Or Ein Sof goes למטה מטה עד אין תכלס, it really literally means to the lowest and the last levels of reality. דהיינו בעולמות ביאה, that generally they are all included in the worlds of ביאה that are detached from godliness in their experience, שהם בחינת מטה, that we already defined the world, the created worlds. Bara means outside. Bar means in Aramaic outside. That they are outside of the realm of godliness because from their perspective, they feel outside of their source. וכמבואר, and they are called mata, the below. וכמבואר בהקיצור דתורס הבעל שם טוב שבליקוט התורה לגימל פרשיוס, as explained before, in the Kitzur of the Torah Baal Shem Tov, for the four parshios we already learned, Bitlas Almin, regarding HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Zohar says HaKadosh Baruch Hu generally has three worlds. They are general, we already taught that and learned that generally God has three worlds, three types of realities. Shehem Biyah de Klalus, they are the general worlds of Bia Yetzirah, not the created worlds, but the general, the Klalius world, the way Bria Yetzirah and Asiya are still included in Or Ein Sof. Dahainu, meaning, Olamos Ak, Olamos Ein Sof, Ak is Adam Kadmon, the worlds of infinity, including, and the world of infinity, meaning, Above Atzilus, Teser, Adam Kadmon, that is called Ak. Olamos Ein Sof. That's one world, the highest world of God. Highest reality. Second reality, Atzilus. Atzilus like is the in-betweener. It's like the Asiya HaKlalis. Adam Kadmon, Akudim and Nekudim. Adam Kadmon, Atik and Arich. Or Akudim and Nekudim is Tohu. But Adam Kadmon, Akudim and Nekudim, these are the Olamos Ein Sof. Atzilut, meaning the spheres don't have a Kalim yet. The main thing is the Oros. Then in Atzilus, you have Kalim already. But the Kalim are one with the Or. Like a goof that is one with the soul. A body that's one with the soul. That's the second type of worlds that Hashem has, of world. And then the third one is Biyah, the created worlds. Bria means outside, bar. That these are worlds that their consciousness is not one with godliness anymore, but they feel outside of their source. Hine benogea le'olamos Biyah, regarding the created worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya, Hapratim, not the Klalim. Bria HaKlali is Adam Kadmon, again. Yetzirah HaKlali is Akudim, the world of Akudim. That all the spheres are bind, Akud, in one Keli. And then, that's Keser, generally. Bria HaKlali, the general Bria is Adam Kadmon. The general Yetzirah is Keser. And the general Asiya is Atzilus. So these are Biyah Klalim. And you can divide it also, if you want to divide it to four worlds, then you would divide it to Adam Kadmon is like Bria Klalis. And if you want to divide it to three, like here, like the Zohar said that Hashem has three worlds, then Yetzirah would be in this case Akudim. and perhaps Adam Kadmon are the Biyah HaKlaliyim, which is Adam Kadmon. In this case, I would say, okay, let's divide it like this. Adam Kadmon, Akudim, and Nekudim. These are general Biyah. Or sometimes Atzilus is included. And it will be called Asiya Klalis. But here he differentiates between the two. Why? Because Olam Ein Sof don't have Kelim. Even the world of Nekudim that has the beginning of 10 Kelim, but they're not sustainable yet. The only world that has full Kelim is Atzilus. And therefore it is called the second world. And then you have Biyah Pratim, the specific Bria, the created Bia, which is Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya that we know. Now, hine, בנוגע לעולמוס ביה כסיב אף עסיסיב. Regarding עולמוס בריאה, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, it says, אני בעסיב, as you say in the morning, יצרתיו אף עסיסיב. That I created it. When Hashem says, I created the world, so I created it, Brasiv, this pasuk, that Brasiv, Yetzartiv. Brasiv means Barasi, I created it. Yetzartiv, I formulated, I gave it surah, form. And then Af Asisiv, I also made it, which is Asiya. And in between Bria Yetzira and Asiya, in between Bria Yetzira and the world of Asiya, there is a Af in the pasuk. Af Asisiba also made it. Af Hifsik. Af, the word Af is separating between Bria and Yetzira and between Asiya. Ki biya nikra alma de pruda. Because if you want to look at this world as a representation, really, of all created world, they are called in Kabbalah the world of separation, of detachment. So bottom line is that the Rebbe says, now we really get how lemata the created world is. That it's detached in its reality, in its relation with existence, in its perception. Even the highest of the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya feel outside of their source. And their appreciation of the source is depending on the level of the world. But all of them feel outside of the source, which is not the ultimate truth, obviously. אמנם עניין זה הוא לא רק בנוגע לעולמות ומלאכים. And this inyan of feeling detached from the source is not only applying to worlds and angels, אלא but אפילו בנוגע לנשמות, even regarding souls. היינו רוב הנשמות שהן נשמות דבייה, meaning most of the souls, which are the soldiers that are fighting this war, are נשמות of בריאה יצירה ונסיעה, שגם הם נכללים בעניינים שבאים לאחרי ההפסק דאף עסיסי, that even the souls, in their experience, the souls of Biyah are included in all those matters that follow Af, the word Af. There's a separation between a real separation between the source and the consciousness of Asiya. That even in the Oilamos of Bria and Yetzira, the world of Bria doesn't have Yeshus yet. The only thing it is, it has, it's appreciate, it's the fact that it came out of Ayin. That is appreciation. In the world of Yetzirah, there is already a sense of self, but the self is fully aware of its dependence on its source, like a baby in the womb of his mother. So both Yetzirah and Bria are worlds that are, yes, they are also created worlds, but their appreciation of the source is way higher than our appreciation in the world of Asiya that is following the word Af. Af also means anger, means displeased. So it's a world of the divine Charon Af. It says about Charon, it's the place of the Charon Af of Hashem, of the anger, the divine anger. It's a place that arouses divine anger. It's a place that is so detached that it goes against God. So that comes after the Af. Af means a nose, but nose gets hot when a person is huffing and puffing. When he's angry, the nose gets hot. So it's Charon Af, the dryness of the nose. And that's the separation, a real sense of separation. Most of the neshamos are like that. בנוסף לזה, in addition to that, ישנה גם המשך האור באופן של ירידה למטה יותר. In addition to the fact that to begin with, our reality that we feel separate from the source, even way lower than Bria in Yetzirah. In addition to that, how Or Ein Sof comes down to this world is in a manner of tremendous descent and tzimtzumim, constrictions. והעניין בזה, כפי שממשיך במאמר, as the Rebbe continues in the מאמר, שהשתלשלוס האור בביאה, ממדרגה למדרגה, בריבוי המדרגות, ובאופן שמסעלם ומסתתר האור ממדרגה למדרגה. And the way Or Ein Sof is now bringing itself down and devolving through Bia, Bria Yetzirah Nasiya, from level to level, descending, it descends in a way that it, number one, mis'alem, it's concealed itself, and mistater also blacks, by different blacks in tzimtzumim. Mimadrega lemadrega, from level to level as it goes down. Bria, Yetzirah, and Nasiya. Until, as we said, Bria, we compared it to pregnancy. Some of you like this mashal that is brought in Hasidus. And you can find it in Pnina Tanya in the back of Rabbi Ginsburg, Alav Shalom. That Olam HaBria, it's like the moment of conception. You don't have a baby yet. It's all elokus, it's just the beginning of the possibility over here. It's such a subtle, sublime world. Olam HaYetzirah there is a baby already, but it's in the womb, it's in its source, it feels, its consciousness is completely aware that it is totally depending on its source. And then there's Olam HaAsiyah. The baby is born, baby that feels a separate mitzvah, separate from its source. And as the light goes down, you see that the consciousness of each world descends and descends and descends and becomes more superficial and less truthful and less deep and less all-inclusive. And the light gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and narrowed and narrowed and narrowed and divided. עד שבהגיע האור לעולם הגלגלים והמזלות, until the light goes all the way from Bria and through the angels that carry the light, which is the Malachim. We have the Srafim in Bria, and we have the Chayos HaKodesh in Yetzirah, and we have the Ofanim in Asiya Ruchnis. They are still spiritual beings. Then you have the physical world, but it's like the bridge between the spiritual Asiya and the physical Asiya. What is that? The Galgalim and the Mazalos, the celestial orbits in which the planets are located and the stars, which according to the Rambam and to the sages, they have intelligence and recognition of God. The Galgalim are the orbits, and the Mazalos are the constellations of stars. And they are channels through which divinity is now brought down to the world of Asiya Hagashmis, and through the Galgalim of Mazalos, that on one hand they are physical orbits that move in a very fast way, very speedy way, and the Mazalos are constellations of stars, but they have intelligence. So they are the last, so to speak, of the spiritual in our world, and through them, the divine energies now, harehu mis'abe u'misgashem, gets thickened. Ave means thick, coarse, and materialized. Mitgashem becomes physical and coarse. ולכן, and therefore, כל ההשפעה והגילוי בעולם התחתון ועולם הגשמי ובעולם הזה, הוא על ידי הגלגלים והמזלוס. And therefore, the entire flow, the entire energy, the entire influence, and the entire revelation, anything and anywhere in the lowest physical world of this world is done through the galgalim and the mazalos, through the orbits and the constellations. וכמו שנאמר, as it says in Parshas Bracha, ממגד תבואות shemesh, it's the shemesh that is responsible for the sweetness and the ripeness of the grains, תבואות, וממגד גרש ירחים, and the sweetness and the fruitfulness of the geresh, of the nightshades, is from the yarech, from the moon. וכמאמר, as Chazal say, אין לך עשב מלמטה שאין לו מזל מלמעלה המכה בו ואומר לו גדל. You cannot find a blade of grass from below that doesn't have a spiritual muzzle, a spiritual officer from above that strikes it and tells it to grow. שהוא בא, what is this energy? What is this influence from above that makes every blade of grass, every plant grow? שהוא בא מאור וחיוס האלוקי ששופע דרך הגלגלים ומזלות. That comes from the divine light and vitality that flows through the galgalim and the mazalos. והיינו meaning שלכאורה אינו מובן. Now the Rebbe is going to ask a question. I did bring it up already. And he says, what is the thing is that Chazal say that you don't have a blade of grass that doesn't have a spiritual force that tells it to grow. We know already that you need divine force of some kind to create the transition from Ain to Yesh, to create something. So, okay, isn't it sufficient to say that the Galgalim and the Mazalos or whatever source they want to bring are responsible for the creation of grass, or even the creation of each one of grass or a blade of grass? It's coming yesh from nothing, from something out of nothingness. That is the hisavus, not the growing, the coming to existence. Why Chazal make a point to say that not only the creation of every blade of grass, but the growing, every step of the growth of every plant, which means every experience it will have, is a reflection of this mazal that strikes it and tells it to grow. דבישלמה בנוגע להסהבוס העשב שיסהבה באופן המתאים לעולם הזה הגשמי, that when you, it's true that regarding the creation, the ishavus, coming to being of the grass, that it will come about in a suitable way to this physical world, you need a divine force that will make it happen. Even, let's say, koach hatzomeach in the earth, right? So we are told in Hasidus that it's not the seed that makes the plant come from the earth, grow. It's really the earth that has the power to bring forth vegetation, and it's the earth that grows the plant. However, what does the seed do? The earth has an infinite potential to bring infinite plants in amount and in quantity and in qualities, different plants, infinite kinds, infinite in numbers, and so on and so forth. How do you make sure that grass is now created, or a tree is created, a fig tree and not a pomegranate tree, and that plant and not another? For that you need the seed. The seed is like the code that makes the earth, the koach hatzomeach, the power of growth in the earth, metzamtzem itself and now appears as specifically grass or a fig tree or a pomegranate tree. So Bishlama, it makes sense, the Rebbe says, that regarding the coming to existence of the grass, Muvan, it's understood that it cannot happen by itself. שעניין זה צריך להיות על ידי המזל. That this has to happen through the spiritual source of grass. Fine. אבל בנוגע לגידול העשב, but regarding the growing of the grass, כפי שמדייק רבינו הזקן באיגרת הקודש, סימן כף, that also we bring in Basi Legani, שהמזל המכה ואומר גדל, היינו לאחר שכבר צמח העשב. That means that the Alter Rebbe says in Igeres HaKodesh Chaf that the mazal, the spiritual force that strikes and says grow, that means after the Esev, the grass was created already. ואינו אומר לו לצמוח מאין ליש. This doesn't mean that this mazal tells you to grow from nothingness to somethingness, to be created. No, אלא rather מikoten לגודל כולו, from little to big. It's about the growing after it is created. אבל בטרם יצמח, the truth is that בטרם יצמח, before the grass or the fig tree or the pomegranate tree grows, למי יאמר כל מזל, next page, ומזל לכל עשב ועשב ופרטי פרטיוס. Unless it is created, of course you need a force that will bring each plant, I'm on page Yudches, into existence. Otherwise, how will the mazal have grass or in each blade of grass that to tell it to grow? Of course you need a divine force for that. But eino muvan. Excuse me for a moment. למה צריך להיות עניין זה על ידי המזל? Creation of the plant, fine. You need a force, a higher force for that. But the actual physical growth of each blade, why you need that to be totally depending on the mazal? ועל זה מבאר בה המיימר. About this he explains in the מיימר. שכיוון שבירידת האור הוא מסעבה ומסגשם, that since the way the light comes down, it becomes thickened and more coarse and physical, and then it becomes physical, and first it becomes coarser and coarser and coarser in spiritual, and then it makes the jump and leaps and becomes physical. לכן כל עניין של השפעה בעולם הזה. Therefore, because it's a gradual process, therefore every matter of השפעה in this world, לא רק בנוגע להסהבוס הדבר, אלא גם בנוגע לגידולו, הוא על ידי הגלגלים והמזלס. Not only regarding the coming to existence of every creation, but, or in this case, every blade of grass and plant, but also regarding its growing, who this is done, he על ידי גלגלים and מזלס, through the spiritual sources. הוא ממשיך בהמיימר. And that means that the Rebbe is explaining to us very, very in detailed way how Or Ein Sof comes down lemata mata ad ein tachlis. Yes, it goes through a lot of tzimtzum, a lot of thickening and coarsening and so on, and goes through all kinds of stages, but it's a chain. It's a gradual descent of Or Ein Sof. And it's Or Ein Sof itself that goes lemata mata ad ein tachlis. שזהו השפלה גדולה. This is a tremendous lowering of godliness, מה שהאלוקוס בא בהלם והסתר גדול כל כך, that Elokus comes in such a tremendous concealment and hiddenness בריבוי העלמוס והסתרים, in myriads of concealments and myriads of blacks, the ריבוי ההשתלשלוס דבייה, through the myriads devolvement and descent of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. That Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, the spiritual ones, are still, these are olamos of Kedusha, these are spiritual worlds, these are olamos of holiness, which host Neshamos, Malachim, olamos of Kedusha. It's only in this physical olam Asiya that Or Ein Sof now is covered up and hidden until it becomes a physical metzius, a physical reality, a blade of grass. Ad sheba ba'ashpah chitzonis v'gashmis. And that means that light that now is embodied through hashpah gashmis, external physical flow. ומזה מובן, and from this is understood, שכיוון שזוהי ירידה גדולה ביותר, that since this is a tremendous descent, הנה בעניין זה היא ההפלאה והפלא, היא ההפלאה והפלא, שאור אין סוף הוא למטה עד אין תכלס. Regarding this, now we can begin to have some appreciation about this wondrous thing, this miracle, that Or Ein Sof, which is simple oneness that is beyond any definition, can go so low to become a physical reality. והנה, now, Vav, אף שירידה הנ"ל היא למטה עד אין תכליס, even though this is pretty much למטה עד אין תכליס, all the way to the Gashmi. Okay, so that's pretty low. מכל מקום, nevertheless, says the Rebbe, it's not it yet. גם ירידה הכי תחתונה זו אינה אלא בדרגות שהן בבחינס הקדושה, או ששייכים על כל פנים לבחינס הקדושה. ואין זו ירידה הכי תחתונה ממש. So until the physical world, even though it is tremendous yeridah, even to create mazalos and galgalim and above that. But these are the higher worlds of Bria, Yetzira, are olamos that are at least, as just said, olamos of Kedusha, olamos of worlds of holiness. And it's not the ultimate descent. ועל זה ממשיך במאמר, and about this, the Rebbe continues in the מאמר, the Frierdiker Rebbe, שיש ירידה גדולה יותר, that there is a greater descent, כמו שבא בריבוי צמצומים, אלמוס והסתרים, עד שיכול להיות דבר היפך מאלוקוס לגמרי. Until there can be, let's get into the lowliness of this world. That in the higher worlds, there is already a sense of yesh, and it feels separate from its source, but it's still worlds of Kedusha. The consciousness of the higher world is a very high consciousness. Now, when Or Ein Sof comes down to be embodied as this physical world, in this physical world, it is so concealed and so black that now you can have realities and consciousness of something which is opposite of Elokus legamri, opposite of godliness entirely. Vahainu, meaning, lishkoach halavai legamri chas v'shalom. It is possible to look at reality and look at nature, look at the world, and forget about God altogether. Now we see quantum physics, why the observer is so important in the observed, regarding defining the observed. Because if one looks through the regular eyes of Olam Asiyah Gashmi, then it is something which is opposite of Elokus. Not consciously going against, but definitely Elokus is not apparent. You don't see God. You see a physical object that covers God up. And it has a weight, has a touch, has a smell, you can touch it, you can measure it and so on. You can forget about Havaya Legamre. What is science? Science can forget about God completely. can measure everything, can keep proof. Doesn't have to see God. Remember God. This is now how Or Ein Sof is embodied as a consciousness that forgets about God. ומכל שכן, and how much more so, now we get to the ultimate למטה מטה עד אין תכליס, which is כמו שהוא בקליפה בסטרא אחא. Like it is in Klippa, in the ungodly forces, that there are two of them. You know, you can say Klippas Noiga is not intentionally going against God, it's just forgetting him. That's like nature. But Klippas Atmeos are consciously going against. But even there are two levels. You know, there's going against because just not knowing. So I made myself, I am my own source. And then he's going against when knowing that there is a God and a source and going against him. That's the ultimate. שזהו הפך האמס, I'm sorry, כמו שבקליפה, לאמור, to say, as, who brings it? 49, יחזקאל. It says about Paro that says, לי יאורי ואני עשיסיני. The Yeor, the Nile, the Nilus is mine and I made myself. Says Paro. שזהו הפך האמס ממש. This is the opposite of truth ממש. The truth is, the ויברך Yaakov as Paro, when Yaakov blessed Paro, איתה בתנחומה, and it's brought in Rashi in Koimo, in its place, in Shmois ובמה ברכו שיעלה נילוס לקרסו. And what did Yaakov bench Paro when Yaakov met King Pharaoh? What did he bless him with? That the Nile, the Yeor, the Nilus should come up towards him. The water of the Nile should come up towards Pharaoh when he came to the river. Vehu, what does it mean? Hashpa'as hatov ha'elyon. This is the flow from the divine goodness, shenimshach, that was brought down through Yaakov to Paro and through Paro to Mitzrayim. Soon the Rebbe will explain what this Tov is. Yaakov brought from the highest level of Tainug, of divine pleasure and delight, down to Mitzrayim through Paro. Hine Paro, so Yaakov benched him with a divine good. Hainu, what? So, and what happened? Hine Pharaoh, which is the Melech HaMitzrayim, Melech HaMitzarim, Ugvulim. What is the king of Mitzrayim? The king of Mitzarim Ugvulim, the king of the intellect, the consciousness of finiteness, of restricted, totally restricted and blocked perception, of the ultimate limitation and blindness. So he is the Melech HaMitzarim Ugvulim. He is the king, the consciousness, the intellect of limited perception, who odd and limited being, who odd kfui tova. He is not only grateful, he's the opposite of grateful. He is ungrateful in an active way. Ve'omer, and he says, Li Yeori. I govern the Yeor, and Ani Asisini, and I created myself. Sheu Hepech HaEmes, the opposite of truth. What is it, the opposite of truth? This is the embodiment of Or Ein Sof, to create such a power. Va'inyan baze, the idea is, והנה גם בקליפוס בסטרא אחרא נמשך החיוס לאור אין סוף. The point that the Rebbeim are making is that even in Klipos and Sitra Acha, the other side, the opposite of Kedusha, the Chayos is drawn into that of Or Ein Sof. The Chayos is what? Or Ein Sof. The Chayos from Or Ein Sof. שהרי ואתה מחייס כולם כסיב. Nehemiah says, you animate all, even beings of Klippa. Ela, but שהחיוס יורד ומסעבה ומסגשם, this vitality, this life force descends and thickens and becomes more and more coarse and physical. ושופע, and then it flows, דרך הגלגלים והמזלות, through the orbits and the constellations, עד שיכול להיות דבר ההפך מאלוקוס ממש, דבר. Until there could be a דבר which is mamash, the contrary godliness to godliness mamash. Really. ועוד זאת, and more than that, והנה, in קליפה גם דבר שהוא הפך מאלוקוס. Even something which is contrary to אלוקוס, יכול להיות באופן שאינו יודע את ריבונו ומכבד למרוד בו. It could be that someone is contrary to Elokus. Why? Because he is not aware of Elokus. He's not aware, doesn't know. He doesn't intend to rebel against God, just doesn't know of its existence because of its cause energy that makes it feel like a yesh that is like exists by itself, and we don't see Elokus. So that's one level of klipa that could do something which is against the will of God, but it's not intentional. שאז אינו כפוי טובה כל כך. Then he is not that ungrateful. However, there is the ultimate mata, the ultimate tachton. וישנו אופן למטה מזה. There is a way which is even lower than that, שיודע את ריבונו, that he knows his master, he knows his creator, ומכל מקום מורד בו. Nevertheless, he goes against him and rebels against him. לומר, to say, לי יורי ואני עשיסיני. The or is under my governing and I made myself, I am the deity. שאז הוא גם כפוי טובה. Then he is paying with the opposite of tov for the tov that he received. That's kfui tova, that's intentional ungratefulness. וזהו שמביא במיימר הדוגמה מפרו. And therefore the Frierdiker Rebbe brings in his maimar the example of Paro, שאף שידע שעליית הנילוס לקראתו היא מצד ברכת יעקב, that even though Paro knew that the reason why the water of the Nile came up towards him when he came by was because of the blessing of Yaakov. Until then, and after Yaakov passed away, it did not happen. Mikol makom, nevertheless, היה כפוי טובה. He was ungrateful, להיות ישו מציאוס, to hold himself as an independent yesh, separate from the source, and totally independent and not depending on any source of ashpa or blessings, and consider itself the ultimate reality. לא רק בפני עצמו, אלא גם לומר, לי יורי ואני עשיסיני. Not only to say that I am here, but I am here independent of a source, but to go even further and saying, I am the source. That's the ultimate yerida, mata ad ein tachlis of Or Ein Sof. We will continue Be'ezrat Hashem next time. Okay, I hope to finish next time. To explain more, according to the Mittler Rebbe, because he brought already the Alter Rebbe from Geras HaKodesh Chaf, and now he will bring in page Yutes, the Mittler Rebbe, who will explain Beruchnius, what is this blessing, what is the unique blessing that the Nilus, the Nile, has. The Nile represents the Pishon, the Nahar, the one of the four rivers that came out of the main river that irrigated the Garden of Eden. But Pishon, which is the one of the four rivers that are responsible for the sense of separation, of detachment from the source, is the first of them. That's the Nilus, the Nile, that is the closest and directly connected to the Nahar, Yotzeh mi-Eden, to the river that irrigated the Garden of Eden, which means Yaakov blessed Paro, and through this the entire land of Egypt with the highest aspects of Eden, of the Tainug that comes from Eden. And therefore we will see that the entire kingdom of Egypt, all Egyptians were mourning heavily when Yaakov passed away, because they all knew that that blessing is gone, and that was followed by the destruction and the Makkos that destroyed Egypt. But Paros did not, who knew all this, denied it intentionally and proclaimed that he is God and everything is under his power. This is how low Or Ein Sof can come down and vitalize and animate a metzius that goes intentionally against God. That's pretty much lemata mata ad en tachlis. And the next thing that, as we learned already, and we'll go through the explanation of the Rebbe, how it is manifesting in our own inner world, psychological and spiritual world.